They say there are three sides to every story. Here's the truth. In a close-knit church community, trust is everything. Elders are meant to guide and protect the flock with integrity, their lives reflecting the faith they teach. But sometimes, the very people entrusted to lead betray that trust. This is the story of Dobert Rodson, an elder at Faith Bible Church in Wildomar, and the web of deceit that cast a dark shadow over a business, a church, an elder board, and a community. A few years ago, Dobert Rodson owned a thriving surgical device distribution business, which we'll call Athletic Tech. He decided to sell it to a fellow Christian, someone who trusted Dobert and believed the deal was fair and transparent. Athletic Tech became Kingdom Medical, and everything initially seemed hopeful and promising. The buyer was assured of a bright future, but behind the scenes, Dobert was making other plans. Even before the ink had dried, Dobert quietly laid the groundwork to create a competing business the moment his non-compete agreement expired, using his company, Wade Medical. Wade Medical primarily sold post-operative devices like arm and neck braces. On paper, this aligned with Dobert's non-compete agreement, which restricted him from competing in the surgical device space. However, shortly after the Athletic Tech buyout, Wade Medical began selling implantable human tissue, items used directly in surgeries. This undermined Kingdom Medical during the non-compete period. Legally, Dobert might argue his actions did not violate the agreement, but is that really the standard for an elder and Christian who just made millions? This tactical move kept Dobert relevant with key doctors and facilities whose business was worth millions. What's more egregious is that Dobert used Kingdom Medical employees to distribute his questionable products. These employees included his son, son-in-law, and other key staff who were still employed by Kingdom Medical. Dobert wasn't acting alone. In late 2023, Dobert's non-compete period officially ended. What happened next was devastating. Let's rewind. Athletic Tech sold to a trusted partner and fellow church member, becoming Kingdom Medical. Kingdom Medical retained Athletic Tech's employees, many of whom were associated with Faith Bible Church. The sale happened during the peak of COVID lockdowns, making business especially difficult. The new owner faced the challenge of keeping the lights on and employees paid, all while being indebted to Dobert. In January 2024, Kingdom Medical was blindsided. Dobert recruited key Kingdom Medical partners, trusted advisors and executives who controlled millions in business relationships. These recruits included those who had helped distribute Wade Medical's surgical products during the non-compete period. Multiple key players left Kingdom Medical at once to join the newly formed Wade Surgical, a Dobert Rodson company. Wade Surgical now directly competed with Kingdom Medical. This betrayal sent shockwaves through the local medical device community and devastated the remaining employees at Kingdom Medical. Employees were quietly warned by the now Wade Surgical partners to prepare for the worst and seek other jobs. As Romans 12:10 says, "Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Give preference to one another in honor." Imagine walking into work on a regular Tuesday morning, only to find your livelihood in jeopardy. With a skeleton crew, employees faced the personal and professional impact of Dobert's move, while hospital patients relied on their support. The betrayal was deeply personal. Not only was Kingdom Medical facing ruin, but some of the perpetrators were elders at Faith Bible Church, the very church these employees called home. Dobert Rodson, Mark McDonald, and Dean Farrell, all elders, were part of this devastating coup. This collusion to dismantle the business Dobert sold was unconscionable. The disregard shown by Dobert and his fellow elders for the livelihoods of the people they were entrusted to shepherd was cruel. This was more than a business deal. It was a display of greed, poor judgment, and a profound lack of care for others. As James 3:16 states, "For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every evil thing." Quickly, the exiting partners and Dobert prepared statements to address concerns expressed by those immediately impacted by their malignant move. Their explanation? It was just business. They claimed they saw an opportunity and took it. It wasn't personal. They pointed to being underpaid, faulty leadership, and excessive work hours as contributing factors. But let's not forget, these were top-level employees making San Francisco tech-level salaries, well above most others at Kingdom Medical. And this was after the owner fought to keep the lights on during COVID shutdowns. Meanwhile, the Kingdom Medical employees left behind, some of them fellow church members entrusting Dobert and other elders involved to shepherd them, were left to bear the brunt of the fallout. To Dobert and his partners, they were mere pawns in their "it's just business" game. Ezekiel 34 verses 2-4 says, "Woe, shepherds of Israel who have been feeding themselves. Should the shepherds not feed the flock?" Let's pause to learn more about Faith Bible Church in Wildomar. The church was a haven within the Murrieta area for those seeking a biblical community. Governed by a plurality of elders, the church segmented responsibilities. Some oversaw counseling ministries, others training ministries, while Dobert was tasked with overseeing church finances. Recently, the elder board came under intense scrutiny when their long-term teaching pastor was caught plagiarizing. Unfortunately, the board mishandled the matter. They admitted to disregarding concerns, showing partiality and preference toward their teaching pastor, while exhibiting bias against anyone who raised objections. As James 2:1 says, "My brothers and sisters, do not hold your faith with an attitude of personal favoritism." Initially, they attempted to cover up the allegations until pressure from the congregation and a few viral YouTube videos forced their hand. The embattled pastor ultimately admitted he was no longer above reproach and stepped down, as Titus 1:7 instructs, "For the overseer must be beyond reproach as God's steward." This incident revealed a troubling pattern among some elders: disregard, partiality, cover-ups, reluctant admissions of fault, and eventual attempts to resolve the issue. Sadly, the elder board is following the same pattern with the Dobert situation. Mountains of evidence have been detailed and presented to the elder board, revealing not just an interpersonal dispute between business partners, but systemic greed, dishonesty, misuse of scripture, disregard for the flock, and pride. That's right, this business dealing on display is only the tip of the iceberg. There is much more to explain and expose. Pastors and people of influence in and outside of the church, including a former elder of Faith Bible Church with extensive knowledge of the industry, have pushed for transparency and offered assistance in uncovering the truth behind this and other shadowy business dealings. Yet, the narrative is being controlled. Rather than addressing the evidence, the issues are being dismissed as mere interpersonal conflict. In the days, weeks, and months following these events, many attempts were made to reconcile but were dismissed. Partiality and preference shielded Dobert and the elder board from the consequences of their actions, the same way they had protected a pastor caught plagiarizing sermons. It's been close to a year. Only after some church members, and even an elder, removed themselves from fellowship did some elders finally agree to a controlled and closed-door meeting to address these concerns. After months of silence, Dobert made some closed-door apologies and confessions to some wrongdoing. Admissions of slander, gossip, misuse of scripture, and delaying reconciliation were made, but was that enough? 11 months of sin, deceit, and damage couldn't be undone with a few words. And what about other evidences pointing toward major issues of disqualification? True reconciliation, according to Scripture, requires more. When an elder sins, the Bible is clear: rebuke them publicly so that others may take warning, 1 Timothy 5:20. Restoration requires stepping back from leadership, a period of reflection, and a commitment to rebuild trust. This isn't just about one man's mistakes, it's about the integrity of the church. The congregation watches and waits, wondering, will the elders uphold biblical standards? Will they protect the flock or cover for their own? The witness of the church hangs in the balance.